Hola, bienvenidos. I'm Coach Jaime, director of Habla Academy and the host of the Good Expat podcast. In this video lesson, I want to share with you the first 4 units of my Spanish coaching program, which has already helped over 300 of my paying clients speak confident Spanish in just 10 weeks, allowing them to integrate and feel more at home in Spain. So you can rest assured that the content in these Spanish lessons 100% work. My full program includes Spanish fluency training, life coaching, and immersion challenges. But on these video lessons, we will simply focus on one step, the foundation of the Spanish language. I'm going to guide you from the most basic concepts all the way to having conversations about everyday topics. I strongly believe that in order to become a good expert in Spain who speaks Spanish and participates in the local community, memorizing a few words and learns a few grammar rules isn't enough to get you there. So, in order to make you make the most out of these Spanish lessons, I'd like to share with you 3 simple yet powerful tips. Number 1, create a routine. I wouldn't recommend you binge watching these lessons in one sitting. Instead, plan to watch for about 10 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a week, for example, before or after your breakfast, and create an easy learning routine that you can stick to. Number 2, practice what you learn right away. Use it as much as you can, as soon as you can, in public, in shops, with your neighbors, and even with your children. This will help you internalize all the new concepts and will help you start moving towards socializing more with the locals, no? And number 3, share your wins. To help you keep up the motivation, let me know every time you complete a unit or you get an aha moment or when something finally clicks for you by writing a comment with the hashtag win. Oh, and as a side note, if you hear me reference an app, a website, or a challenge, just ignore it and remember that these videos are part of a Spanish coaching program where there are many more elements. Now, it's time for you to begin Unidad 1, Saludar y Presentarse. I know that you're a complete beginner, so let's start nice and slow by looking at how to use some basic greetings in Spanish, manage conversations, and also read anything in Spanish. And if at any point you feel you need my support or guidance, I invite you to check out the different links I've shared with you in the description and either check out my podcast, join my Facebook community group, attend my weekly online event, take the free assessment, or apply to work with me. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, vamos. During this video, I'm going to show you how to deal with any conversation, anytime, anywhere. What to do when you get stuck in the middle of a conversation. What to say when it feels that everyone around you speaks too fast. How to respond confidently when you feel lost, and how to be more in control of your conversations and emotions. Entonces, I'm going to share with you a set of 8 strategic expressions that you can use to let who you're talking to, what you need, and how they can help you, and all from a very empowered position. These very powerful expressions are always what I teach my students in our very first class, and they are the very first thing that I always try to master when I pick up a new language. We're going to go straight to the point to facilitate the communication, so no need to explain, oh, I'm new here, speak a little bit, I'm sorry. No, none of that, because the main idea here is to feel confident moving the conversation along. Regardless of your level, I want you to find the power in these expressions to lead the conversation and ask for collaboration, despite us not speaking much Español and being in a disadvantageous position in the interaction. Okay, chicos, vamos. Imagine that you're out there in a public place and it's time to speak to a real Spanish person. It's happening, they're talking to you, you're completely lost, you're feeling nervous and confused as usual. What's the very first thing that you should say to be in control of the conversation? Ay, lo siento, no entiendo. Literally, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Lo siento, no entiendo. You might have heard other expressions for apologizing like disculpa, perdón, perdona. All those are acceptable. Just you can insert it before, you can replace it for lo siento, no? Lo siento, no entiendo, perdona, no entiendo. Now, what's next? ¿Puedes repetir? ¿Puedes repetir? Can you repeat? Big smile. Can you repeat? And then the Spanish person, in their enthusiasm for talking to you, they'll go, sí, and start repeating at the same speed. That's not very useful to us. We need to add a bit more of information here. Puedes repetir, but más despacio, por favor. Más despacio, por favor. So with this 3-part combo, we are 1, stating what the problem is. I don't understand. 2, asking for collaboration, right? Can you repeat? Puedes repetir. But we are leading the conversation by explaining that we are a beginner here. We need a bit of support, so just bring it down to my level, please. ¿Vale? Do not feel bad for saying this a million times. As many times as necessary, as many times as the other person needs to understand that you're a beginner and need help. And please, I invite you to use your hands to explain and convey these messages. Some Spanish people are not used to foreign accents. I know maybe they didn't hear you, they didn't understand you very well. So by you using your hands and your body language, you're going to make it easier for them. Once again, just because you speak a little Spanish doesn't mean that you can lead the conversation, huh? And this is what we're doing here. So, lo siento, no entiendo. Lo siento, no entiendo. Never like this. We're not pushing anybody here away, right? I remember this student, Lucy, a couple of months ago in a class. Every time I ask her something, lo siento, no entiendo. And it kind of looked like she was pushing me away, like she didn't want to talk to me. Not very friendly, huh? Lo siento, no entiendo. And never say this on its own. Because once again, lo siento, no entiendo. Lo siento, no entiendo. Not very friendly. So make sure that you work on this three-part combo. Lo siento, no entiendo. Puedes repetir. Más espacio, por favor. Más espacio, por favor. 1,000 times. As many times as necessary. So these three are the most essential ones. The other expressions we're about to look are also important. But these three are anytime, anywhere, with everybody at all times. ¿Vale? How about if you did understand, you just don't know the answer? What would you say? No sé. No sé. Very easy to remember, very short, but very important. Do not misuse it for no entiendo. Remember this other student, Robin, I think it was called. Every time I ask him something, it will go, no sé. I just ask you how you're doing today. No sé. Right, so there's a time and a place for no entiendo and no sé. This next one, it should be the tip of your tongue at all times to try to slow down the conversation to a level so you can start processing things at your own speed. Mira, un momento por favor. Un momento por favor. A moment, please. Un momento por favor, right? Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué tal? Un momento. Un momento por favor. No sé, for example, right? So we don't want silences here in the conversation, like or awkward smiles. Just by saying un momento, you're buying yourself time. How about if you understood? How about if you should know the answer, but you just can't access it right there and then you can connect with it right there? No recuerdo. I don't remember. No recuerdo. Recuerdo, remember, recall. No recuerdo. No recuerdo. How about you're there full flow in the conversation, you're stringing words together in Español, but you get stuck. Now you don't know how to translate one word. How would you ask for collaboration so the other person maybe can get involved and help you with the following expression? ¿Cómo se dice fill the blank en español? How do you say in español? So in that gap, you can either point at the object or just say in English. ¿Cómo se dice pen en español, please? ¿Cómo se dice pen en español? Por favor. Do not feel that it's bad to speak Spanglish. Come on, you speak two languages now. Probably English as your mother tongue, and then a little bit of Spanish. So enjoy mixing them up both now that you're a beginner, huh? Last one. You're having a conversation. You are understanding the general idea that they're being your friend, Spanish friends, is telling you, but there's one particular word that you're just not getting. So you are understanding, but it's just one word that you don't understand. Perdona. ¿Qué significa? And then you repeat. What does that mean? Huh? It's not the whole idea. It's just one particular word, and then you can pick up new vocabulary as you go along, huh? with your Spanish friends. Now that you're armored with these simple expressions, you can feel more confident and empowered dealing with any conversation, anytime, anywhere. I encourage you to go over these lines on your head while you're driving or while you listen to the radio, you don't understand something, you go, lo siento, no entiendo, right? So you're practicing, so when the real situation comes, bam, it's showtime and you're ready to use them. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to read any Spanish word by learning the sounds of the 5 vowels. Now that you're learning loads of Spanish new vocabulary, it's very important that you know how to pronounce it, huh? Spanish is a phonetic language, and that means that we read as we write. There's only one sound for the vowels, unlike English. Let me show you. Let me show you what I mean. In English, if I focus on the vowel A in these two particular words, we can see that here we have an A sound, table, and here these two vowels are completely different to this one over here, alpha, alpha. In Spanish, that's never going to happen. Wherever we see a vowel, it's always going to have the same sound. So these are the 5 vowels, and if we go over the sounds of them in English, we'll see that apart from this one, all of them have 2 sounds. So we have E, we have I, A-I, O, U. In Español, no. In Español, we only have 1 consistent sound for each one of them, and they're very staccato. A, E, I. And notice how my mouth is at the back. A, E, I. And then O, U. A, E, I. O, U. So three vowels to the back, 2 vowels to the front. And now that's how we play making sounds. To the back, to the back, to the front, to the back, to the front. Now, how to remember these sounds? Well, let's come up with a bit of an activity here. Can you think of an English word that begins with this vowel and begins with the sound a? How about apple? Huh? Can you think of an English word that begins with this vowel and the sound e? Egg, elephant, same thing. I. English word. India, ink, indigo. O. Orange, October, orangutan, o. Now, can you think of an English word that begins with this vowel and the sound u? If you're thinking of umbrella, that's a. Umbrella. If you're thinking of university, that would be this sound, ink, university. I've been doing this activity for years and nobody has ever come up with an answer to this question. So I'm gonna write a word here that could help you memorize this particular sound. How about u? Uber. Now we have these 5 words that you can use as an anchor to remember the sounds of the 5 vowels. If you're thinking of these words, you can think of the first sound of the word, and you have the sound for the vowel. Now, with these sounds, you can read any Spanish word that I could share with you. Make it green. Vale. So let's see. We have aquí. Now let's only focus on producing the sounds of the vowels. Let's forget about the consonants for now. So we have apple, we have a. And all we gotta do is just make the sound of the consonants as we would in English. So manzana, manzana, a. Here we have 2 sounds. Egg, apple, a, mesa. We have ink, orange, I-O, niño. And then this one here, we have Uber, ink, orange, U-I-O, unicornio, unicornio. I could even actually give you English words and ask you to read them in Spanish. Shall we do that? So let's do it again. Bam, bam. You have the sounds here. Only focusing on the vowels first. So we have ink, I. Now, all of a sudden, the word Wi-Fi has become Wi-Fi. And that's because you're reading it with your Spanish brain. And that's an important process you need to go through to suppress your English brain wanting to read things and pronounce things in a certain way, put them aside and let the Spanish brain to come in and produce the right sounds and pronunciation. Huh? So Wi-Fi, it will take some time. Now we have two sounds here. I-E. So I-E, Nike. Here we have double, egg. So E, orange, O, E, O. Revok. How about this one? Ink, egg, I-E, A-E. Let's not forget. I-E, A-E. Prince Charles. That's how we speak in Spanish, and now you can understand why Spanish people we read English the way we do. Now that you can read anything in Espanol, I invite you to go crazy practicing and experimenting these new sounds. Read anything that falls in your hands or anything that you can see. Bus stops, timetables, newspapers, magazines, instructions, ingredients, just for the fun of it and just for you to start producing those sounds. The more you get used to those sounds, the easier it will be in the future for you to start opening up your ear to Spanish accents and pronunciations. Hey friend, I want to pass by to invite you to my online Intro to Spanish live workshop. It's perfect for beginners who don't know how to begin learning Spanish, for Duolingo users who feel stuck and can't speak with confidence, and even for those taking lessons but feel a little bit disconnected from the locals. You'll discover an original 6-step roadmap to quickly learn Spanish and connect with the locals, and I'll show you how to avoid the 12 common mistakes that waste time, money and effort. If you want to join for free, check out the link on the description. Let's practice your reading skills by reading together the unit text, ¿vale? Vamos. I read and you repeat, and try to imitate my same intonation. Hola, buenas tardes. Hola, buenas tardes. Eres muy guapa. Oh, gracias. De nada. ¿Cómo te llamas? Soy Natalia. ¿Y tú? ¿Quién eres? Yo soy Pedro. Encantada, Pedro. Mucho gusto. ¿Cómo estás, Natalia? Pues hoy no estoy muy mal. ¿Y tú? Yo ahora estoy muy bien, gracias. ¿Eres española, Natalia? Sí, soy española. ¿Tú también? No, no soy español. Soy inglés. Pero vivo en Ibiza. Do you speak English, Natalia? Oh, disculpa. ¿Puedes repetir? You speak English? Lo siento. No entiendo. No, hablo inglés. Ah, no pasa nada. ¿Puedes repetir más despacio? Yes. Do you speak English? Ah, sí. Ahora sí entiendo un poco. Una idea, Natalia. ¿Vamos en taxi a un hotel? ¿Y comemos bananas con chocolate? ¿Perdona? ¿Estás loco? Oh, lo siento. Adiós. Encantado, Natalia. Hasta pronto. This is video part 1 with the most common Spanish greetings that you need to know to feel super polite in everyday situations. So we're starting from the easiest ones. Hello en español. You know this, huh? Hola. Attention to the H, to the silent H at the beginning. It's not hola, it's Hola. It's like we ignore the sound of the H altogether. Now this next one, it has two words. The translation is two words, and some of you make it masculine, some of you make it feminine. Let's once and for all discover how to pronounce, how to say good morning properly in Español. It's buenos días. Buenos días. Es el día. It's día, it's a masculine word. Therefore, this is matching the masculine word. You're going to be introducing the concept of masculine, feminine, very indirect here, and then future lessons we'll look at it more head on, ¿vale? Buenos días. Good afternoon. Similar like the previous one, but it's feminine. Two words. So what would you say? Buenas tardes. Because it's la tarde. Tarde is a feminine word, and this is matching. Very important concept in Español, matching. Next word, similar. Two words, it's feminine, you should know this by now. Huh? Buenas noches. And the key thing to remember about this particular expression is that we can use it to say hello when we walk in into to see our friends late at night, or to say goodbye when we leave in. Hola chicos, ¿qué tal? Buenas noches. It's too tired. I'm tired now, it's too late. Buenas noches. Huh? What would you say if you walk into a room and you're not really addressing anybody? Hey, what's up? Two words. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? Just leave it up in the air, like if you're walking through a restaurant or a shop. ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? But what would you say if you actually want to find out how your friend is doing that day? Huh? It's more that you're looking him into the eyes. Hey, how you doing? How are you? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? And I'm going to highlight the T here. I want you to remember this T in this question. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? Because in the answer, we also need to produce a verb with the T as well. So, how would you say I'm good? I know that you know what good is. Bien, ¿vale? But now, how to say I'm good? Remember, it needs to have a T. Estoy bien. Estoy bien. Estoy bien. And then, of course, we throw it back at the other person. Hey, ¿y tú? And you? Very good. Muy bien. Muy bien. Do you remember how we said I'm good? With the T? Do you remember? Estoy. So we could say I'm very good. Estoy muy bien. Estoy muy bien. Estoy bien. Estoy muy bien. O estoy muy bien. I encourage you to give sentences or answers the longer the possible, please. Don't limit yourself to sí, no, bien. Try to push yourself all the time to give as much as you can. Not very good. What's the word that we use for negatives in Spanish? Well, we simply put it at the beginning. Like, no muy bien. No muy bien. Bad, mal, very bad, muy mal. How do you say I'm very bad? With the T. Remember? T. Estoy muy mal. How would you make this negative? Remember, the no goes in front of the action of the verb. Where would you put the no here? Would you put it here at the end? In here? Here? Where would you put the no? In front, not at the beginning, in front of the verb. No estoy muy mal. I'm not very bad. So we can practice, we can break it apart, we can just have fun with the few words that we have, that we are learning. We can break them apart, change the order, and produce something original. More or less. This is one of my favorite expressions. How far is it? More or less. How long does it take? More or less. Más o menos. The direct translation from in Spanish is more minus. More minus. More minus. How would you say nice to meet you? And this is a tricky one because depending on what, if you're a guy or a girl, you need to give a different answer. Check it out. Boys, I will always say encantado, regardless of who I'm meeting. If two boys are meeting, encantado, encantado. If two girls are meeting, encantada, encantada. The masculine and the feminine version of this expression depends on who is talking, not who you're talking to. Who is talking. So I will always say encantado. Chicas, always encantada. A mucho gusto, it's another expression, just to give you more vocabulary. I feel there's a bit slightly more formal. Mucho gusto. Encantado, yeah, it's the one that we use every day. And this is the end of part 1 of Greetings in Español. Come back for part 2 so I can continue explaining the rest of the vocabulary in this greeting set. In this video, we continue looking at the most popular Spanish expressions and greetings that you need to know to feel like the most polite Spanish student ever. So let's continue. You've seen your friends, it's time to go home. Goodbye in Español. Adiós. And I like to point out that here there's a bit of a hidden message in adiós. Dios means God. So what we say in Español is to God. To God. Adiós. Adiós. Just trying to make it memorable for you too, so it's easy for you to remember. See you later. In see you later, I like to draw your attention to the word hasta, which is very, very resourceful because we can add many things after hasta to make different sentences or to make different expressions. Here we have hasta luego. Remember the H at the beginning is silent, so it's not hasta, it's hasta. Hasta luego. Then see you tomorrow. You know what tomorrow is? Mañana. So, hasta mañana. Hasta mañana. Hasta mañana. See you soon. Hasta pronto. Now, if you've been revising the days of the week, ¿cómo se dice Monday en español? Lunes. So how would you say see you Monday? Hasta el lunes, o hasta el martes, o hasta el miércoles. Please, por favor, 2 words. Por favor, por favor. Thank you. Gracias. You're welcome. En español we say, of nothing, of nothing. De nada, de nada. What is your name? Now, notice that in the translation to this expression, the word name, nombre, it's nowhere. Because I'm giving you an expression that it doesn't translate word by word, but it's the most common expression that we use to find out each other's names. ¿Cómo te, as in tú. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? Llamas. ¿Cómo te llamas? And you might choose to go, my name is, I've chosen to give you the shortest, quickest, easiest way to remember or how to reply the answer. It's got the name, it's got the verb, and your name. So, soy, and the name. In my case, it will be soy Jaime. Now, I invite you to find what your name will sound or will be like in español. So if you're David, introduce yourself as David. ¿Cómo te llamas? Soy David. If you're Susan, soy Susana. And that way we're starting to embody this whole new Spanish persona that is growing with us. Where are you from? I will be looking at nationalities in the next unit, but for now I just thought of sharing this with you so you can start playing with your neighbors, your colleagues, your friends, and give them some expressions to keep the conversations going at the beginning with barely no vocabulary. So where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? And the answer, we're going to repeat the same verb that we used before to introduce ourselves. We're going to go for soy. And the verb soy, it's the one that we use for introductions. Soy Jaime, soy de España. In your case, soy David, soy de Inglaterra, soy de Holanda, soy de Francia. But this is very important. It's a very key verb that we'll be looking at very soon. Do you speak Spanish? I only put this one here in case somebody asks you and you can recognize, you can identify what's being said. Do you speak Spanish? 2 words. Hablas español. Hablas español. And I do not encourage you to do this, but let's say you get stuck with somebody, you've been trying to get your point across in español and it's like, wow, it's all over the place. I can't move this forward. Let's see. That's the last card, huh? But let's see if this person speaks English. Perdona, ¿hablas inglés? ¿Hablas inglés? So you very politely ask for them to switch to English if they know. Please do not speak English at anybody. That's not their problem. It's your problem that you don't speak Español. Huh? So please be very polite and request, if it's possible, to switch back. Don't assume that they are going to be okay with that. And I feel that it kind of makes people uncomfortable when they're being spoken at in English. So perdona, ¿hablas inglés? Yes, I speak a little bit. Okay, listen, my friend, I've got a problem here. And then you switch back and you express yourself, ¿vale? Before that, try in español. Try to solve the problem in español. No, somebody asks you, do you speak Spanish? And then you go, yeah, I speak a little bit, but I'm learning. So, hablo un poco, pero estoy aprendiendo. Couple of things here to mention of this expression. Remember what I said about the actions that we do in the present tense. Entiendo, comprendo, they finish in an O because we are doing them. So hablo un poco, a bit. But I'm learning, pero estoy aprendiendo. This should not be used when you are in the middle of an exchange with a stranger, in a queue, in a shopping mall, something. Remember, we go straight to the point with short, brief messages. Lo siento, no entiendo. Puedes repetir. Más espacio. No comprendo. Bam, bam. That's survival vocabulary that we have learned already. This is what we can use to show off in front of our friends to give them a bit more information. Sí, hablo un poco, pero estoy aprendiendo con Jaime en Survival Spanish. Hey friend, do you want to know why you feel stuck and frustrated with your Spanish? If you do, I invite you to answer the 15 simple questions that you find on my online assessment, where you get a score in 3 different key areas: language skills, mindset, and integration. Then you receive a personalized report with detailed feedback on each area, helping you celebrate your strengths and pinpoint where you can improve. It's free and it only takes 1 minute. So to get started, check out the link on the description. In this video, I would like to introduce to you to the numbers from 0 to 20, so you can start becoming a bit more comfortable with basic prices, numbers, dates, quantities, and so on. I'm certain you won't have any problems from the numbers from 0 to 10, but let's revise them anyway to make sure that we get the right pronunciation. Now, we begin with 0, and I'd like you to pay attention to this particular sound, th, because it's going to be quite relevant in this unit. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know some of you at some point will spell cuatro with a Q. It will happen and it's okay. Now, cinco, it's a bit of an interesting word because despite having the same consonant here, we have 2 different sounds. Here, the first sound is a Z sound, and on the second C is more of a K sound. So it's cinco, cinco. 6 y 7, the only one thing to remember or to pay attention, it's notice that we use the same vowels but the invert. So it's 6, 6 y 7. So 6, kind of, it feels like you're going forward with the sound. 6, la A, and then 7, 7 with the T. 8 is my favorite number. I love the way it sounds. 8. 8. 9 might look like another word that you might have heard before. Nuevo or nueva. This means new, and this means 9. So very similar sounding words, but completely different. So make sure that we don't get it wrong. The number is 9. 10. Another common mistake is calling the number 10 dia. What does that mean? Day. It's also a popular supermarket chain in Spain. Dia. 10. Obviously you got this in common, but we change after that. Dia, shorter, nothing here. Dia, and then 10. Now, pay attention to the numbers 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. What do they all have in common? ¿vale? But the th, like I said, we have that sound here. Th, 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 th. And what I like you to see here is a bit of a pattern. So we have the regular numbers 1 to 10, and then we have to a section. We have the section, and apart from 11 and 15, most of them kind of there's a resemblance to the original number. So 1, 11, and then you have 2, 12, 3, 13, 4, 14, you have the same beginning, ka. And then 15 and 15 goes all over the place, doesn't even look like it. That would but in itself, it's quite memorable to remember, but it doesn't really fit in, right? Don't try to read it quince. It's a K sound at the beginning, quince. Another pattern here, bam, 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 bam. Another section from 16 to 19. We have the 10 somethings, and notice that it's just the regular number what comes after. We have 10 plus the number 16, 17, 18, 19. Just for you to know where the 10 comes from. ¿Cómo se dice 10 en español? It's here, ¿no? ¿Cómo se dice and en español? ¿Cómo se dice 6 en español? But this is what we're trying to say. But in español, this combo here of the Z and the I, it's very odd. So we can't have it together. So we decided to push this from the sides and turn it into one word. Dieciséis. Let me make this a bit more clear. Dieciséis. And then 17, 18, 19. But originally what we're trying to say is 10 and 6. Important concept that we'll be using for other numbers, bigger numbers. Good idea to remember. So 10. And then we have 20. 20 sounds like vein, 20. It's very common to also read it bien. It's very common to make this kind of mistake. Viente? No. Vein, like vein, 20. Now that you know the numbers from 0 to 20, I invite you to notice them around you in prices, in times, in telephone numbers, and call them out for you to get as much practice as possible. Even if you notice or you see big numbers, ¿vale? Break it down into simple numbers that you know already. So you know 1, 8, 9. Even better, you can go, 18, 9, and in that way you make sure that you get as much practice as possible, and you won't have any problem in remembering them. In this video, I would like to introduce to you to the vocabulary set called Palabras en Español, and it's gonna be a very important set that's gonna come with us along our journey in this program. The reason why I built it is to show you how to increase your vocabulary in Español. You don't really need to be learning loads of new words from scratch, because there are already loads of words that you know that are very similar in Spanish. ¿Vale? So in this particular set number 1, I've handpicked a selection of words that are spelled the same in both in English and Spanish. How convenient. So all these words here that you can see on the screen, they're written in English, but they're also Spanish. We just need to change the intonation, the pronunciation, and give them a gender, masculine or feminine. And that's what I like to explain in particular of this vocabulary set. So bar in Español, masculine or feminine? El bar. I will see in future units about the concept of masculine and feminine more in detail. For now, I just invite you to associate ella to the word that we're looking at, ¿vale? El is for masculine, so el bar. Now, club. In español, we go for Uber, we go for club. Masculine, el club. Hotel, remember the words that begin with an H in Spanish? What's the sound? Silent. So it's hotel. El hotel. And then plaza, it's a feminine word. So is it el plaza? No. La plaza. la plaza. So now I invite you to go over the rest of the words, familiarizing yourselves with the sounds. Your English brain will try to read them. I can see here chocolate. So my English brain will make me miss that last vowel and not read it. But then I'm like, hang on one second. Spanish brain does an E for echo, E for egg, chocolate, ¿vale? So I need to make sure that I pronounce them well and I absorb them by my Spanish brain now. I'm gonna draw your attention to the last two words because all the words here have ella, apart from simple and solo. Simple and solo. Simple is an adjective. It's an adjective, so it's describing, it's giving us a quality about something else. So we can actually start making sentences already. So we can have un bar, el bar, simple. Vale, hey, we're very limited here. We can't, we are not saying what we want. We are saying what we can at early stages. Huh? So what about, un menú. El menú, simple. El menú simple. And simple is a very nice word at this level for you because simple is both masculine and feminine. So you can mix it with any of these words over here. Solo is a little bit trickier because you need to match it depending on what you're talking. So for masculine, everything that begins with an L, you will use solo. In this case, we said that bar, club, y hotel, they're masculine. So el bar solo, el hotel solo. Y plaza, we said is feminine. So the feminine of solo, sola. La plaza, sola. That actually makes sense. The lonely square. Have fun mixing and matching and feeling good about the fact that you've already increased right now in something like this. You've increased your Spanish vocabulary with new 15 words that you already knew. Vale, more to come in Palabras en Español. Felicidades! Congratulations! You've completed Unidad número 1. Before moving on, please pause this video and share with me in the comments one thing that you liked and one thing that you learned in Unidad número 1. Okay, are you back? Then, welcome to Unidad número 2, los chicos y las chicas. Get ready to start making your first sentences because you're about to learn how the masculine and feminine work, make singular and plural changes, and my favorite, speak using the Fab 5 verbs. Remember that if at any point you feel you need my support or guidance, I invite you to check out the different links I've shared with you in the description and either check out my podcast, join my Facebook community group, attend my weekly online event, take the free assessment, or apply to work with me. Let's begin Unidad número 2. 3, 2, 1, vamos. In this video, I would like to talk to you about the numbers from 20 to 30. And why have I chosen only to go that high? It's because I simply want to introduce one more pattern in the Spanish numbers. We already saw in the previous unit that we have, the first pattern that we have are the ces. 11, 12, 13, 14, 11. There you go. The second pattern that we talked about was the dieci. The third pattern, the one that we're going to look at today, it's the 20, 20, 20, 20 and applies to all the 20s, all the numbers in the 20s. Remember how we got to the dieci numbers in Español? So what we originally wanted to say was 10, 10 and 6, 10 and 7 and so on. But then we established that it was a very weird combination of consonants and vowels. It sounds very weird in Spanish. So from 3 words, we'll turn it all into one word. 16, 17, 18, 19. With the 20s, something very similar happens. So we are trying to say 20 and 1, 20 and 2, 20, 20 y uno, 20 y dos, from 3 words. But then we have this very weird combination as well. 21, 22, 23, 24. Very weird. So one more time, from 3 words, 1, 2, 3, we'll turn it all into one single word. 21, 22, 23, 24, and so on, to 29, 29. And then when we get to 30, notice that 20 and 30 has the same similar combination of vowels. 20, 20, 30. In this video, I would like to introduce to you to some very basic Spanish grammar concepts, as well as the concept of masculine and feminine in Español. I've pulled up these words from the vocabulary set called Palabras en Español number 2 to introduce you to three main types of words in Español. We have words that we use to talk about places, things, and people. We have words that we use to describe these people, places, and things. And we have words that help us establish the gender of these people, places, and things. So these are the three types of words that we have here. Now, let's start calling things by their name. It's very important. I can't teach you a new language by telling you, yeah, okay, so we have these two words, and now you put, now the short one, it needs to go like this, and then the long one goes in between or after the even longer word. No, we need to start calling things by their name. There will be some of you that all these concepts will be really at the back of your mind and will remind you being back in school. Maybe you feel that you should know, but you don't. Don't worry about it, it's fine. But it's very important that we start calling things by their name as we learn Spanish. So now we established that we have three types of words. Words that are for people, places, and things. And those words are called nouns. Nouns. So bar, club, pasta, banana, persona, nouns. We have words that we use to describe those people, places, and things. And those words are called adjectives. And I'm kind of giving away here. And then the word that we use to indicate the gender of those nouns are called articles. All the nouns in Espanol have a gender. They're either masculine and feminine. The rule of thumb tells us that the words that finish on an O are masculine and the words that finish in an A are feminine. But that's not always. There are lots of exceptions. So the main thing that you need to look at always is the article. And I will always share articles when I'm introducing vocabulary to you, because I need to help you establish if a word is masculine or feminine. So let's go back to the words in the vocabulary set. And pasta finishes in an A, so it's feminine. Muy bien. Idea finishes in an A and is feminine. Perfecto. Problema finishes in an A but is masculine. And I know some of you say el problema because maybe you heard Earl and you're trying to assume that it's masculine. We really need to pay attention to the article. What about the nouns that don't finish on an O or an A? For example, hobby. Well, pues el hobby. What about el bar, el club, el hotel? It's very important that we pay attention to the articles to establish the gender of the nouns. So to recap this unit, we have looked at the importance of calling words by their name, so we can be specific. And as a language learner, this is very important to you. We have looked at three different types of words. We have looked at nouns, which we use to talk about people, places, and things. We have looked at adjectives to describe those people and things. And we have looked at articles to establish the gender of those nouns. We have said that in Espanol, all nouns are either masculine or feminine. And we have also said that you can sort of guess the gender of a word by looking at the ending, but the most definite way of confirming the gender of a word is by looking at the article, which I will always be sharing with you in our vocabulary sets. In this video, we'll explore more in depth the concept of masculine and feminine in Espanol. So far, we know that all nouns in Spanish are either masculine or feminine. We've also said that we can pretty much recognize them depending on the ending, but it's not always true. And the only way to identify the gender of a noun is by looking at the article. At this point, I'd like to make very clear that the concept of masculine and feminine is not based on anything that you might associate with masculinity or femininity. Masculine words are not supposed to be macho and strong, and feminine words are not supposed to be gentle and beautiful. It's just simply a grammatical category. Sometimes we can change the gender of the nouns. Can you remember what a noun was? It was three things. It was a word that we used to talk about things, places, or people. Let's go individually one by one of all these examples and see if we can change the gender, see if we can find the opposite of these nouns. Coche, can we find an opposite? If a coche is a masculine, can we find a feminine counterpart? No, I'm afraid not. Casa is a feminine word. Can we find the masculine equivalent in Español? No. Gato, a masculine cat. Can we find the feminine cat? Yes. Teacher, professor. Can we find a female teacher? Yes, we can. Profesor. Hombre, man. Can we find a woman? Of course we can. So we can establish that nouns in Spanish can be changed from masculine to feminine only when we're talking about animals and people. We're going to be looking at 3 main changes depending on the ending or the type of word that we're looking at. Before I go ahead illustrating the changes for the nouns from masculine to feminine in Spanish, can you remember the article that we use for masculine words? El. Can you remember what article we use for feminine words? La. I get it here already. We have 3 possible changes to turn a masculine word into a feminine word. I'm going to write down the feminine version of these words, and I want you to help me identify and come up with the explanation of how we made that change. Now, what happened here? How do we change this from gato to gata? So for the nouns that end in an O, we replace the O for an A. That's what happened. So we replace. Now, what happened in the second example? Well, we have 2 ways of explaining this. For the words that do not finish on an O, that finish something else that is not an O, we add an A. Or if you want to be very specific, for the nouns that finish in a consonant, a T, a L, an M, an S, we add an A. So here we are adding the A. So what happened in number 3? Well, we actually had to come up with a different word. El hombre, the man, the woman, la mujer. There's no ending change or anything. It's just a completely new word. So in this unit, we've looked at all the nouns have a gender, they're either masculine or feminine. And that is simply a grammatical category not based on masculinity or femininity or being strong or being beautiful. We've also looked that only nouns that refer to people and animals can be changed from the masculine to the feminine. And we have looked at 3 different types of changes to make that happen. Hey friend, I want to pass by to invite you to my online Intro to Spanish live workshop. It's perfect for beginners who don't know how to begin learning Spanish, for Duolingo users who feel stuck and can't speak with confidence, and even for those taking lessons but feel a little bit disconnected from the locals. You'll discover an original 6-step roadmap to quickly learn Spanish and connect with the locals, and I'll show you how to avoid the 12 common mistakes that waste time, money and effort. If you want to join for free, check out the link on the description. In this video, I would like to talk to you about the very simple concept of singular and plural in Spanish. And yes, I say simple because it's very similar in Spanish and English. In particular, I would like to focus on the changes that we need to make to singular words to turn them into plural. If you look at these 2 words that I've got on the screen, for example, the girl, one, singular, let's turn it into plural by adding an S. And the box, we cannot just add an S at the end of box to make it plural to indicate more than one. In this particular example, we need to add ES. There are many other rules in English to make the plural, but we're going to focus on these 2 because these are the only 2 that we're going to be using in Spanish. For all the words that finish in O or an A and a vowel, we're going to be adding simply an S. And for the words that do not finish on an O or an A, such as an R, an N, an S, an L, a consonant, we need to add ES. Remember that? So, can you help me turn all these words from the singular to the plural? Let's do it together. So, I'm going to start with the feminines. La casa, casas. La gata, that's a vowel, as there. That's a vowel, that's a vowel. So we simply add an S. And here we simply add an S. Here we have a consonant. So, mujeres. Let's do with the masculine. Coche. Vowel, vowel, vowel. Pues simple and S. Coches, gatos, hombres. And this one doesn't finish on a vowel. So it finishes on a consonant, so we add ES. Profesores. That's it. No, I'm afraid it isn't the end here. Unlike English, the only change applies to the noun. The article, it's untouched in English, but in Spanish, we need to match everything. So this is still singular. We need to make it plural. So what's the plural of la? Finishes on a vowel, we add an S. Las, 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 and las. Now, this is 100% correct. Ching, vale. Let's look at the masculine words. Let's see how we turn that article L into plural. We said that if it finishes on a consonant, we add es. I'm afraid on this one in particular, we cannot just add es at the end. We actually need to write down a new word altogether. So L actually becomes los. Los gatos, los coches, los profesores. Let me delete all this. Let me get it closer. Bam. And now, this is correct too. Los gatos, las gatas, los profesores, las profesoras. So to recap this unit, the concept of singular and plural is the same in English and Spanish. We're only going to be focusing on two changes. So for the words that finish on a vowel, on an O, and an A, and an E, we add an S at the end. For the words that do not finish on a vowel, finish on a consonant, we add ES. And the masculine of L is in els, or LS is los. From L to los, from la to las. Now that you know the name of some basic grammatical Spanish words, you know the concept of masculine and feminine in Spanish, and you know how to turn singular words into plural, let me help you put it all together so you can start making your first sentences in Spanish. First of all, we need to look at what a sentence is. And a sentence is divided in three sections. We have somebody, or something is doing something. That's the easiest way I can explain what a sentence is, just for you to see those three main sections in a sentence. And this same division, the same structure is exactly the same in English and Spanish. Somebody is doing something, or something about somebody or something. Let's move on to point number 2 here. This is a very important concept in Spanish, but everything needs to match in a sentence in gender and number. So everything needs to match if it's masculine or feminine, or needs to match if it's singular or plural. And we always look at the main something or the main somebody doing the action. So we're going to focus here in the idea. Idea in Español. I've translated this for you. It's very simple vocabulary now, just to illustrate the point. So idea is masculine or feminine. So we know the idea is feminine. Is it singular or plural? It's singular. There you go. Everything in the sentence now, since we are talking about the idea, everything in the sentence needs to match the idea in gender and number. So let me start with the article first. La. But la is definitely feminine, singular. Perfecto. Es, that's the action. It doesn't have any gender, but it's still singular. Perfecto. Fantastic. It's not complete. Fantastic. I need to make it feminine and singular. So what's the ending for adjectives in the feminine? Fantástica. La idea es fantástica. Now this is all matching here. Perfect sentence. Now let's do exactly the same, but in plural. So we can use the same sentence here. Bam. Vale. So what's the plural What would the plural of idea be? So we said that for words that finish in a vowel, we add s at the end. So idea, the plural, is ideas. Let's go to the article. La, what's the plural of la? Las. What's the plural of es? Well, we don't know that, but I'll tell you, it's son. Fantástica, what's the plural of fantástica? Fantásticas. Now this is correct. The ideas are fantastic. Las ideas son fantásticas. We have a noun in feminine plural. This is feminine plural, and this is feminine plural. Everything needs to match in the sentence. And the last thing for you to pay attention in a sentence is the order of the adjective. And in this particular example, I've added an extra adjective to the sentence. We cannot translate it word by word like we have been doing so far. Why? Because everything needs to match. So first, I need to talk about the main noun here. I need to talk about the la idea. So let me write it that far. So we're talking about the idea, huh? So la idea. What about it? Pues es stupid. Stupid in Spanish, estúpido. It's fantastic. Es fantástico. Now, we said everything needs to match. So we have feminine singular. La is feminine singular. Feminine singular. Estúpido. That's masculine. Estúpido. It needs to finish in an A. So let's turn to feminine. Estúpida. Now it's feminine singular. Es fantástico. The same. It needs to be feminine. So fantástica. Feminine singular. So the reason why we change the order of the adjectives in Spanish is because first we need to bring up what we're talking about, and then we describe it because it needs to match. So I wouldn't be able to give you this correct ending in a feminine unless I know that I'm talking about something feminine. So to recap this lesson, we have looked at what a sentence is, and it's basically somebody doing something or something doing something. And the structure in English and Spanish is exactly the same. The second point is that everything in the sentence needs to match in gender and number. So in this case, we were looking at something feminine singular. So we established that everything else in the sentence was feminine and singular. And the third point of this lesson is that we need to invert the order of nouns and adjectives. So it's a bit back to front if you're reading them from English. Why? Because first we need to establish what we're talking about, decide if it's masculine or feminine, and then match the following descriptive words in both gender and number. Hey friend, do you want to know why you feel stuck and frustrated with your Spanish? If you do, I invite you to answer the 15 simple questions that you find on my online assessment, where you get a score in 3 different key areas: language skills, mindset, and integration. Then you receive a personalized report with detailed feedback on each area, helping you celebrate your strengths and pinpoint where you can improve. It's free and it only takes 1 minute. So to get started, check out the link on the description. In this video, I would like to help you understand what the personal pronouns are and how to use them in a sentence. But before you go ahead, make sure that you've revised the vocabulary set called personal pronouns in Quizlet. We know that a sentence is somebody doing something. So the personal pronouns are going to help us decide who is doing the action, and that will always go at the beginning of a sentence. To help you memorize and structure these personal pronouns, I'm going to share with you a system. Check it out, and a number system. So we're going to divide this into 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go over the personal pronouns in English first, and then we translate. So number 1, who is the number 1 person in your world? So that would be I. If you're talking to me, who will be number 2 to you? So be you. And if you're talking about he or she, that's when we refer to the third person, number 3. We don't have it in Español because everything is either masculine or feminine. Now, who would be the plural of I? If I am here by myself, and then my friends come and join me, will turn into a we, no? If I'm talking to you on your own, but then your friends come and then I need to address you all together, it will be you all, you as well. Put here brackets, you all. And then if you're talking about she and then her friends come, or we're talking about he and his mates come, they become they. Now we have a division here. We have 1, 2, 3 / 1, 2, 3. I hope you can see that the ones at the top, the 1, 2, 3 above the line are all singular. It's only one single person. I, you, he or she. And then the ones at the bottom, well, we use them to refer to a group of people. They're on the plural side. This structure is going to be very important because it's going to help us refer to people specifically, and especially when we talk about verbs and start conjugating and we look at bigger grammar concepts. So we have here first person of the singular, second person of the singular, third person of the singular, and we have the first person of the plural, second person of the plural, third person of the plural. So now, if you have been revising the personal pronouns in Español, who would be the second person of the singular in Español? Second person of the singular would be tú. Who would be the third person of the plural? Third person of the plural. Ellos, ellas. Who would be the first person of the plural in Español? Nosotros, nosotras. Who will be the first person of the singular in Español? Yo. Who will be the third person of the singular in Español? Él, ella. And then what's left? Well, the second person of the plural. See, now we can start referring more accurately and start talking about people more specifically. There are a couple of words that are not here yet, but they're important as well, and that's usted y ustedes. What number would you put usted in the singular? Number 1, number 2, number 3? Is it to talk about us in the formal? Is it to talk about somebody in front of you in the formal? Or we use it to talk about somebody that is not here with us in the formal? Or we use it to address somebody in front of you in the formal. And what's the plural of usted? It finishes on a D, it finishes on a consonant. How do we make that plural? Well, we add es. So to recap this lesson, we look at how we use personal pronouns to start sentences by talking about people. And then we also divided these personal pronouns into 1, 2, 3 of the singular and 1, 2, 3 of the plural, which we said is going to be a very important structure for future grammar lessons. In this video, I would like to explain what the Fab 5 verbs are. The Fab 5 are the most essential verbs that you need to start making sentences in Spanish today. If you remember what a sentence was, 3 parts for a regular sentence. You have somebody doing something. We're already 1/3 into a sentence here. We already have the what, the doing, whether I need, I want, I like, I would like. We already know who's doing this action here, so we know there's somebody. We know that all these actions are being done by ourselves, yo. But you don't have to say here. So how convenient now. Now we're shrinking a 3-part sentence into a 2-part sentence. Then on the last spot there's something. So you can use here any of the words that we have learned so far. Then voy will be slightly different because you need to put here a place. But for the rest you can use a thing. Quiero pasta, necesito pasta, voy al restaurante, me gusta pasta, me gustaría pasta. Now you probably hear me speaking very basic and you're like, well, I don't speak like that. I normally like being a bit more polite and I like decorating my sentences a little bit more. You probably hear me sound a bit like a robot. Quiero pasta, necesito pasta. you know what? I invite you to welcome the robot. Let me tell you, there's going to be a little while until you can fully put big ideas together and express them in Spanish. I need you to find the joy in expressing your ideas in the simplest form as possible. Right now, you can express an idea in just 2 words without having to know loads of words and grammar. Those students that are able to connect with that simple form of communications are the ones that are having the most fun because they are moving things along just by using 1, 2, 3 words. Plus, the Spanish language is very direct. To ask for things, we go straight to the point. Give me that, I need that, I don't want that. We're still being polite by also adding a smile to what we're saying, but we are more direct, so that's very useful for you. Now that you can make basic sentences, don't let your lack of confidence or not having anybody to speak to hold you back from practicing. Just like with the survival Spanish expressions, lo siento, no recuerdo, puedes repetir, I invite you to start making sentences in your head all day long when you are out and about. And if you don't know what a word is, let's say you don't know what table is, for example, feel comfortable using Spanglish, right? Necesito table, por favor. When you're talking to a waiter. Necesito pen, por favor. Don't let that hold you back. Try to use the little Spanish that you know right now as much as possible. Please do not wait any longer to use your Spanish. The longer you wait, the harder it will be for you to get into that flow. Just use 1, 2 words whenever you can and make sentences as simple as possible. Felicidades! Congratulations! You've completed Unidad número 2. Before moving on, please pause this video and share with me in the comments one thing that you liked and one thing that you learned in Unidad número 2. Okay? Have you done it? Then, welcome to Unidad número 3, Las Nacionalidades. It's time to tell everyone where you're from and start introducing yourself with more confidence by learning how to talk about nationalities using el Verbo Ser, express how you feel in different ways, and also start asking and telling the time. Remember that if at any point you feel you need my support or guidance, I invite you to check out the different links that I've shared with you in the description and either check out my podcast, join my Facebook community group, attend my weekly online event, take the free assessment, or apply to work with me. Alright, are you ready? Let's begin Unidad número 3. 3, 2, 1, vamos. In previous units talking about the numbers, we identify a series of different patterns. We said that the numbers 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 in Spanish all end in C. We also said that the numbers from 16 to 19 in Spanish begin with dieci, dieci, dieci. I also said that the numbers in the 20s all have 20. These are the numbers 30, 40, 50, 60. Can you spot the next pattern? That's right. It is enta. Enter, 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 enter. The only one that is not 100% ENTA, it's 30, but still NTA. We also said that all the numbers from 0 to 30 are spelled in one word. We don't have the 1 to 10 over here, but we have 0, 1 to 10, 9, 10, or one word, 19 or one word, 20, 21, until 29, one word, 30, one word. Now we get to 31. Look at this. We have 3 different words. This is what we have always been trying to do with the previous numbers. For example, with the number 18, this is what we were trying to actually say 10 and 8 and add it in 3 different words. But we established that this was a very odd combination in Spanish, so we decided to make it all one word. Then the numbers, the 20 numbers, we were also trying to say 20 and 1, but we established that this was also a very weird combination in Español, 21, 22. Now that we get to this next pattern and all the 30s, 40s, 50s finish in enta, ta, 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 there's no bad combination here. It actually reads very well. 31, 32, 33. And then from 31 to 39, we spell it in 3 different words. 40, 41, 42, 43, 50, 54, 60, that's 60, and 7. Very similar spelling, but we have the T of siete. Ochenta, and it wouldn't be nueve. Nueve we spell it N-U-E, and for the 90 we got nove. Noventa. And then we get to 100, which rhymes with bien. Cien, bien. And now you can count up to 100. Now I invite you to start noticing those bigger numbers when you are counting distances, prices, or quantities. In this video, we'll look at how to ask for the time in Spanish and how to tell the time in Spanish. Let's start by looking at how we ask for the time in Spanish, and I recognize that nobody asks for the time anymore because we all have watches or we have mobile phones with us. But in today's lesson, we'll look at the vocabulary that we need for future lessons when we look at more practical stuff, when we're talking about routines or making appointments. In Español, we have two different ways that we can ask for the time. We can either say ¿qué hora es? Or let's make it clear. ¿Tienes hora? What are we actually literally saying? So in this one, we're actually asking for the hour. What hour is what we're asking. And here, ¿qué hour? So in Español, we don't ask for the time, we ask for the hour. Now, how do we answer these questions? So, but first of all, let's look at how we would answer the question, what time is it in English? Because we actually have two different ways of telling the time in English. We could either say, well, it's 6:25, or we can go and say it's 25 past, or 2 in this case, past 6. 25 past 6. In Español, we only have one way of telling the time, which it resembles this format over here. So this one, let's cross it because we don't use it at all. And notice that it's very similar, but we just swap the hours for the minutes. So we tell the hour first, then y o menos, and then the minutes at the end. So where do these two words come from? So if you look at in English, clock, everything on the right hand side is past, 5 past, 10 past, quarter past, 25 past, and this one is 5 to, 10 to, quarter to. In Español, we use y in this side and menos on this side. So it's the hour and the minutes, or the hour minus the minutes. If I was going to give you a full answer in English, I would actually say, well, it's 25 past 6. It always goes at the beginning. In Spanish, we start our answer with either la for singular hours or las for plural hours. In Spanish, we only tell the time from 1 to 12. We don't use 24 hours, so no 23, no 16, 1, 12, de 1 a 12. Okay, well let's look at this hour here and let's use it as an example and let's give a full answer in English. And notice that all the steps that I'm going to use to tell the time in English are the same steps that I need to use to tell the time in Spanish. So we said that in English we start with it's, and then minutes, and then the hours. So it's 5, this is 1, and because it's on the right hand side, it's past. We said that in Spanish, we cross the hours and the minutes. So let's do that. So here it would be 1 is uno, 5 is cinco, and since we are on the right hand side of the clock, we don't say past, we say y. Muy bien. And now we have to begin the answer with either la or las. For uno is the only single hour that we have in the clock. So we definitely starting this using la. This will be technically correct word by word. We've checked, we put everything in the right place. The only one thing that I want you to notice here is that la, it's a feminine article, uno is masculine. Uno, it's the only hour that we change to the feminine una. Una. La 1:05, no la 1:05. Now we've looked at an example with a singular hour. Let's look at another example where we have a few more hours here. So let's do exactly the same. So from the top, it's 11:05. We cross 11, so 11, 5, 5, past is on the right hand side, so we use E, and then 11 is more than 1 hour. This all plural. All the hours from 2 to 12, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, they're all plural, so we go for las 11:05. Now, let's go around the clock looking at the specific vocabulary that we need to tell the time in Spanish. So, we start from the top. When it's o'clock, we say that the hour is en punto. En punto. When it's quarter past, we don't say past, we say y. It's y cuarto. When it's half past, we don't say past, we say y. So it's y media. And a half, media. If we don't say quarter to, we say menos. In this case would be menos cuarto. I'd like to draw your attention to the spelling of quarter because it actually resembles the word four, cuatro. Notice that quarter here has the R and then the T, and cuatro, number 4, has the T and then the R. Cuarto. Can you repeat? Cuarto, cuarto, cuarto. If you can pronounce the R, just make your tongue roll a little bit, make some sort of noise. Cuarto, very, very light. Cuarto, and then cuatro, cuatro. Now we can do is go over a few hours in Español and translate one by one. The first thing I'm going to do is write down 4 steps for all of them. Because all of them have 4 steps. Then let's go one by one. So we have 2 o'clock. How do we write o'clock? En punto. So we have that for sure. En punto. What's the hour? Dos. Dos. Dos is singular or plural? It's more than 1 hour. So it's definitely las. It's las. Huh? Number 2. Example number 2. So we know that the hour is tres. But let's do it like this. Tres. And 15, if 15 is on the right hand side. So it's definitely y cuarto. So here en punto. Tres is plural, more than 1. So definitely las 3:15. Las 3:15. Next hour, if I was going to read it in English, it would be 10 to 6. 10 to 6. And we need to swap the hours for the minutes. So we know that the hour is 6. In Español, 6. And then the minutes are 10. But 50 is right here. So it's on the menos. It's on the menos side. So it's menos. And it says it's definitely a plural hour. So las. Let's look at the next one. 12:55 or 5 to 1. 5 to 1. So the hour it's 1. Uno. It's on the left hand side, so it's menos. And then we say that it's 5. So uno is a singular hour, we go for la. And I know I made a mistake because I haven't made uno feminine yet. I wanted to leave it for the end. So this is definitely una. La una menos cinco. So to recap this lesson, we've looked at we have two different ways for asking the time in Español and only one single way for telling the time in Español. We also looked that we always answer using 4 words and that we only tell the times from 1 to 12, not 24 hours. We always begin telling the time by either la or las. La is for singular, only una, and las for the rest of the hours. Las dos, las tres, las cuatro, las cinco. And we also said to be careful with the words cuatro and quarter, cuarto, because very similar in spelling. We just need to invert the T and the R. As usual, when we look at a new concept, start having fun with it immediately. Don't wait any longer. You already know how to make very basic sentences. So why don't you add a time afterwards? Quiero café. Las 2:30. Hoy, clase de español, 3:15. And so on. It's not perfect because there are a few elements missing there which we'll look in the future, but at least you're practicing with it already. Hey friend, I want to pass by to invite you to my online Intro to Spanish live workshop. It's perfect for beginners who don't know how to begin learning Spanish, for Duolingo users who feel stuck and can't speak with confidence, and even for those taking lessons but feel a little bit disconnected from the locals. You'll discover an original 6-step roadmap to quickly learn Spanish and connect with the locals, and I'll show you how to avoid the 12 common mistakes that waste time, money and effort. If you want to join for free, check out the link on the description. In this video, I would like to talk to you about the verb to be in English, so you understand how to use it and how not to use it in Español. First of all, let's define what a verb is. For that, I'm going to go back to the concept of a sentence. We said that a sentence is somebody doing something. The somebody, we could say that can be done by the personal pronouns, or the something, it could be a noun, a thing. The something can be a noun as well. But the doing word is what we call the verb. Here we have a personal pronoun, we have a person doing, and this is a noun. A noun. And here you can insert any action word. I cook pizza, I prepare pizza, I burn pizza, I eat pizza. All those are verbs. Now let's make a sentence with the verb to be, shall we? So we have pizza, it's a noun, this is an article, and this is the verb to be. The pizza is hot, the pizza is far, the pizza is here, the pizza is mine. We need to realize that we can use the verb to be to talk about many different things, which is great when we are learning English, but not so great when you're learning Spanish because there isn't one verb that translates the same in Spanish. So depending on what we're talking about here, we can use up to 3 different verbs to translate the meaning of the verb to be. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So to be, let's start with the first person. I am. I could say that I am Jaime. I'm Spanish. I'm a coach. I'm at home. I'm happy. And I'm obviously 25 years old. So in Spanish, we don't have one single verb that we can use to translate all the different meanings of the verb to be. So we're going to be looking at mainly 2. Ser y estar. And depending on what we're talking about, we will use either one verb or another. So Jaime, this is my name. We use the verb ser to talk about names. Spanish. We use the verb ser to talk about nationalities. Coach, profession. We use the verb ser to talk about professions. Home, location. We use another verb, estar. Happy, it's an emotion. We use the verb estar. 25, my age. Well, we actually use another verb which is not even here. So in this video, we have looked at a verb is a doing word. We also said that we have different verbs to translate the different meanings of I am, you are, he is, the verb to be. In my next video, I'll explain a bit more in detail how the verb ser works for introductions and nationalities. So before you do that, make sure that you check out and you revise the vocabulary set called Verbo Ser in Quizlet. In this video, I'll explain how to use el verbo ser en español when you're introducing yourself or you're talking about your nationality. To explain this lesson, I need to use the 1, 2, 3 singular and 1, 2, 3 plural formation or structure that we looked at on the previous unit. And I will start by writing down the English pronouns. So we have I, you, he, she, plural we, you, they. No problem there. Now, I will be writing here the verb to be, the unique form for each person for the verb to be. Because the verb to be is the one that will confuse us in the future. Okay, so the unique form of the verb to be for I, it's am. The unique form of the verb to be for you, it's are. And the unique form for the he or she person is, and so on. In the previous unit, I explained that in English, we use the verb to be to refer to many different things like my name, my location, or my age. I can say, I am Jaime, I am at home, I am 25. No problem at all. That's all good. That's English. Now, let's do exactly the same, but in Español. First, let's look at the personal pronouns in Español, and we revise. So, it's yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, vosotros, ellas. I'm not doing the feminine here. Vale, now we are going to be talking about el verbo ser. And for each person, we also have a unique individual form of the verb ser. For the person yo, the unique form of the verb ser is soy. For tú, the unique form is eres. And ella, es. Nosotros, somos, vosotros. So what can we use el verbo ser en español to talk about? So for now, we are only going to be looking at two different things. Name or introductions or nationalities. Nationality. Let's put it a little bit higher here. Bam. So those are the only two things I can talk about. So I can say soy Jaime, soy español. Tú, a ver, tú eres Suvi, tú eres Brigitte, tú eres Jenny, and so on. If I'm talking about my friend, I can say, hey, él es Josh, él es Joe, por ejemplo. What's the negative form of the verb ser? But if you remember when we looked at survival Spanish, we only use the word no in Español to make negative sentences, and we place it before the verb. So in this case, the verb is soy, eres, es, so we go no, no, no. I use myself as an example. Yo no soy Michael Jackson. Tú no eres Lady Gaga. Y my housemate no es Michael Jordan. How do we make questions in Español? How do we make questions with the verb ser in Español? We write questions the same way as we write the positive statement, but we just change the intonation. So, yo soy Jaime. Yo soy Jaime. Tú eres Suvi. Tú eres Suvi. Tú eres simpática. Tú eres inglesa. Simply change the intonation. If you would like to memorize and get practice with these unique forms of the verb ser, make sure that you check out the unit number 3 in Quizlet and find the vocabulary set called ser. So to recap, in this lesson we have looked at the verbo ser and how is the verb that we need to introduce ourselves or to talk about our nationality. We have looked at the 6 unique and different forms of the verb ser, one for each person. We said that to make a negative sentence with the Verbo Ser, we simply add a no in front of the verb. And to make questions with the Verbo Ser, we write the sentence like in the positive statement and we change the intonation to make it sound like a question. Hey friend, do you want to know why you feel stuck and frustrated with your Spanish? If you do, I invite you to answer the 15 simple questions that you find on my online assessment, where you get a score in 3 different key areas: language skills, mindset, and integration. Then you receive a personalized report with detailed feedback on each area, helping you celebrate your strengths and pinpoint where you can improve. It's free and it only takes 1 minute. So to get started, check out the link on the description. In this video, we're going to look at how to talk about your nationality and how to find out where everybody around you is from using el verbo ser. First things first, let's look at how to ask for somebody's nationality. We have, where are you from? Now we need to change things a little bit around here. So in Español, from goes at the beginning. All the prepositions in English go at the end of a question. What are you talking about? What are you interested in? Who did you go with? Those words in Español go at the beginning. In what are you interested in? About what are you talking about? With who are you going? That's how we would translate it in Español. In this case, the same. Where are you from? It goes at the beginning of the question. De. Da, da, da. The translation of where in Español is donde. We already know what you is in Español. Now we know that since we are talking about nationality, we must use the verb ser, and the form of the verb ser for tú is eres. So here we go. That's a complete sentence. Only one thing. Eres is exclusive for tú, so there is no room for confusion here. So really and truly, we don't really need to add the word tú on the question. We can actually take all this out and keep it like this. ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? In Spanish, like in English, we have 2 possible ways of answering this question. Let me write it down in English first. So I can go, so I can answer with 2 words or 3 words. We can do exactly the same in Español. It is me answering this question, so we know what the word for I is in Español. And we know what the form of the verb ser is for yo. We know what the word for from is in Español. De. Vale. And we can see in the option number 1, we're going for the country. Country, España. And for the second option, I'm going for the nationality. In my case, I need to keep it masculine. And nationalities in Spanish are written in lowercase. If you were a Spanish girl writing this, you say soy española. But in my case, soy español. There's no room for confusion of who is doing the action, because soy, it's the form of the verb ser and it's exclusive to yo. So really and truly, I don't need to use the word yo in the answer. It's okay if you use it, so you're anchoring the person and the form of the verb ser. But the way we speak in Spanish in a more natural way, we don't tend to use the pronouns all the time when it's very clear who we're talking about. Now let's practice asking questions to different people and about different people and see how we need to reply to all of them. I'm going to be using the same example as above, but I want you to see the connection between the two forms. So in the question, ¿de dónde eres?, I'm asking the question to you. So you would answer soy. Let's say I hit my head and I forgot where I'm from. What about if I ask you, hey, ¿de dónde soy? How would you tell me you are from London in this case? So you're talking about you use this form, you are, eres de Londres. Very important to see the connection between the first and the second person all the time. And this also applies in the plural. If I ask you and your friends, hey, chicos, ¿de dónde sois? ¿De dónde sois? All of you. Since I said that 1 and 2 talk to each other, and I'm asking a question to you guys, you need to answer in the nosotros form. We are. Nosotros somos de Amsterdam. 1 and 2 always talk to each other. But what about when we ask about he or she? In that case, it always remains the same, just like in English. Hey, ¿de dónde es? Where is he from? ¿De dónde es? ¿De dónde es? When then you refer to that person, es de Londres. When we are asking a question about a he or she, third person, we answer with he and she as well. And the same applies in plural. When we're asking a question about them, ¿de dónde son? Where are they from? ¿De dónde son? But we answer son de Amsterdam. It remains the same. In this lesson, we looked at how to use el verbo ser to talk about nationalities. We said that we have 2 different ways of answering the question, where are you from? One is soy de plus country, or soy plus nationality. We also said that nationalities are in Spanish are written in lowercase, unlike English. And if you're a girl and you're talking about yourself, you need to match the nationality to you. So you need to make the nationality in feminine. We also said that when we're asking questions, the first and the second person always talk to each other. So we need to keep the questions going back and forth. Where are you from? I am from. And if you're talking about a third person, he or she, the question and the answer, we will have the same form of the verb ser. In this video, I would like to go over the vocabulary set called Emociones with the verb estar. We have already explained that the verb to be is a bit tricky to translate in Spanish because depending on the use of the verb, it either falls under one verb or another. We have already looked that we use the verb ser to introduce ourselves. Hola, soy Jaime, or to talk about our nationalities. Hola, soy español. Now, we are going to be introducing the verb estar to talk about emotions. The problem as a beginner is that you might get stuck in ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien. Estoy mal. And keep it right there, which is a bit, you're not giving much information. So this vocabulary is going to really help you explain and make your conversations a little bit more interesting. A few things to notice here. Obviously, all of them, for all these emotions, we use the verb estoy, even though we translate it as I am, I am, I am. For emotions, we use the verb estar. Estoy, estoy, estoy. Estoy feliz, estoy triste works for both chicos y chicas. This is masculine and feminine. Estoy triste, I'm sad, is both masculine and feminine. But I'm ill, I'm sick, estoy enfermo. But we need to match it to whoever is talking. If I'm talking, everything here that finishes on an O, it's for me. Estoy enfermo, estoy ocupado, estoy confundido. If I were a girl, I would have to match this to me, and they would all have to finish in an A. Estoy enferma, estoy ocupada, estoy confundida. To quickly summarize this lesson, we are introducing a few emotions so you never get stuck in estoy bien, estoy mal. And we have looked at how we need to use a different verb, the verb estar, to refer to these emotions. We also looked that we need to match these emotions to whoever is talking. If you're a guy, make them all in masculine. If you're a girl, make them all in feminine, finishing in an A. And these two at the beginning are both for guys and girls. Hey, felicidades! You've completed Unidad número 3. Before moving on, please pause this video and share with me in the comments one thing that you liked and one thing that you learned in Unidad número 3. Okay? Are you back? Then, welcome to Unidad número 4. Un trabajo importante. Let me show you how to talk about your job and routines by using the present tense, talking about the time we normally do things, and talk about future plans. Remember that if at any point you feel you need my support or guidance, I invite you to check out the different links that I've shared with you in the description and either check out my podcast, join my Facebook community group, attend my weekly online event, take the free assessment, or apply to work with me. Alright, let's begin Unidad número 4. 3, 2, 1, vamos. In this video, we'll look at the importance of knowing the infinitive form of a verb to help you make simple sentences. We already know that a sentence is somebody doing something. And we also know that the verbs are the doing, the action words in a sentence. The verb can be done by different people, and with each person, the verb may take a different form. For example, I am, you are, he is, yo soy, tú eres, él es. Verbs, actions, can also happen in different times. So in this sentence here, my friend is playing now football. My friend played yesterday football. My friend plays normally, usually football. If I wanted to find out the meaning of this verb here, I can't just type plays, played, or playing in a translator, because I'm going to get the translation, not the definition of that particular verb. So I need to type it in the neutral form in the translator in a dictionary, so I can get the neutral form of the verb in Spanish as well. Let's go to an online translator so I can show you what I mean. So I type the simplest form of the verb, play, to play. And these are the definitions and translations that I get. I need to make sure that in this case, I'm looking at the definition of a verb, because we also have a noun, a play. So to get the right translation, you need to be looking at the verbs with the V. And look at this, we are getting all the different translations. I want you to pay attention to the ending of all these verbs. They all end in an R, and that means that they're all written in the neutral form of a verb. What do I mean by the neutral form of a verb? Let me show you. So with these two verbs, if I focus on the English example first, to play is not being done by anybody at the moment, and it's not really happening in time. We could say that it's kind of floating right here, right now, and it's waiting for us to activate it. We can either take it to the past, to the present, and to the future. And then I can do the activity, you can do it, she can do it. So when in a verb it's floating, it's neutral, nobody's doing it, it's not happening in time, that's what we call the infinitive form of a verb. And with the Spanish verbs, it happens exactly the same. I can tell by looking at the ending that nobody's doing it. So I know this in the neutral form. It's floating in space and is waiting to be activated, to be taken to the past, to the present, or to the future, and then it's waiting for somebody to do it. I do it, you do it, she does it. In English, we only have one form of the infinitive, and we express it by adding the to in from to play, to go, to be, to have. In Spanish, we have 3 different families of infinitivo, and they all depend on the ending. We have AR ending verbs, jugar, cantar, hablar. We have ER ending verbs, comer, tener, querer. And we have IR ending verbs, vivir, sentir, ir. More of that in future lessons. Now, why is this useful to you? Because once you know the infinitive form of a verb, you can start making sentences without worrying about the unique form of the verb for each person and about the unique form of the verb for each time, the past, the present, the future. So in this example, we can use any person. We have this verb here, and then we can add anything else. We can add any time in here. I can say the yo, o tú, o él, o ella, jugar, hoy, mañana, ayer. I can start being very, very creative. Any person, the verb and infinitive, and then the rest. And in case you're wondering how you sound when you speak like this in Español, you will sound exactly just like this. Instead of me trying to come up with all the different forms, the different endings, played, playing, will play, I'm just sticking to the neutral form of the verb, an infinitive, and then I give the time after. I played today, I played tomorrow, I played yesterday. And in this way, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And yes, you will sound like a robot, but we don't mind this, do we? Because at least we are communicating and we are moving the conversation forward. So to recap, we have looked at verbs have a neutral form, and that it's called the infinitive. Verbs in the infinitive form are not done by anybody, and they're not happening in time, not the past, not the present, or not the future. And we've learned that once we know a verb in the infinitive form in Spanish, we can start making sentences right away without worrying about knowing the personalized form of the verb for the particular person, or in the particular time, in the past, in the present, the future. In this video, you will learn how to speak in the present tense, el presente, using only verbs that finish in AR. We said that infinitive verb is a verb in the neutral form that is not happening in the past or not in the present or not in the future, it's not happening in time, and that nobody is doing. In English, the way we recognize an infinitive verb is because it begins with to eat, to play, to go, to have. And the way we recognize infinitive verbs in Spanish, it's by looking at the ending, and we have 3 different types of infinitive verbs. We have the verbs that end in ar, cantar, hablar, jugar, the verbs that finish in er, comer, beber, tener, and the verbs that finish in ir, vivir, sentir. Let's focus today only on the AR ending verbs. So for example, we have hablar. Right now it's in a neutral form. Nobody's doing it. It's not past, not present, no future. But today we are going to be focusing on the presente, in the present tense. So we're going to start activating the verb and give it different forms. We are in the present, but now we need to give a form for the yo, a form for the tu, and a form for the el, and a unique personalized form for each person. How do we get there? So we need to look once again to the infinitive, and we cross the ending, the AR ending. So what is left is only the able. Everybody is going to have able. And each person is going to have its unique ending. We know by now that all the actions that we do in the present, comprendo, entiendo, and so on, finish on an O, hablo. For the actions that you do, tú, hablas, tú hablas, él habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, y ellos hablan. A very important thing to notice, verbs in the infinitive, hablar, they have the strong syllable at the end, always. Hablar, comer, tener, vivir, sentir, querer, always at the end. When we're looking at these personalized forms, the intonation changes. So it's not here, it's not hablo, es hablo, tú hablas, él habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, ellos hablan. It doesn't go at the end like it goes in the infinitive. And careful with this one because most of my students have a problem, and it's not habléis, it's habláis. Notice the how we're using the with all the forms apart from the yo form. This process of giving a personalized form of the verb to each person, like we just did here from the infinitive to each person, it's called conjugation. Conjugate. So if I ask you, can you please conjugate the verb hablar in the presente? Of course, yo hablo, tú hablas, él habla, nosotros hablamos, and so on. From today, you can start conjugating all the verbs that I've already shared with you. Cantar, hablar, jugar. If I go with andar, pues I know that I need to take off the ending, ¿vale? And what I'm going to do is remove all this and keep only the ending. ¿Vale? So, andar. So, yo ando, tú andas, él anda, nosotros andamos, vosotros andáis, ellos andan. So, to recap this lesson, we have learned how to conjugate in the present tense the verbs in the infinitive that finish in AR. Hey friend, I want to pass by to invite you to my online Intro to Spanish live workshop. It's perfect for beginners who don't know how to begin learning Spanish, for Duolingo users who feel stuck and can't speak with confidence, and even for those taking lessons but feel a little bit disconnected from the locals. You'll discover an original 6-step roadmap to quickly learn Spanish and connect with the locals, and I'll show you how to avoid the 12 common mistakes that waste time, money and effort. If you want to join for free, check out the link on the description. In this video, we look at how to conjugate the verbs in Spanish that end in ER in the present tense. In the last lesson, we looked at how to conjugate AR ending verbs in the present tense. And to conjugate ER ending verbs, we go through exactly the same process. So let's start from the top. So if we pick an ER ending verb, such as comer, what we do is we cross the ending, and we use only the beginning, com in this case. Come. Come. But now, look at the beginning. It's all that belongs to the previous infinitive family. We need to change this. So let's change this. We get rid of the A, get rid of the A, get rid of the A. And what do you think we're going to use? An E. Comes, come, comemos, coméis, comen. So this is what we have left now. Remember that the intonation of conjugated verbs does not land at the end like an infinitive. Comer, tener, querer. It goes a step before. So, yo como, tú comes, él come, nosotros comemos, vosotros coméis, ellos comen. And once again, you can start having fun conjugating all the ER ending verbs I've already shared with you. But I'm going to bring up a couple of examples that they're a little bit tricky. For example, let's go with leer. Leer. So I'm going to remove all this. We are still going to be using the same endings, but let's look at how to read them. So we need to use only the beginning. So in this case, it's le. So let's use le everywhere. Le. Now, from the top, and let's start underlining the strong syllable for each conjugated verb. So yo leo, tú lees, él lee. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky when you have two of the same vowels together, no? It's like, this is like one long sound. No, we need to break the word into two sounds. Le. It's a bit of a bump because the first E, it's got the strong syllable. And then down here in the plurals, leemos, leéis, leen. Don't let the fact that you have two vowels together throw you off. You still need to read each one of them individually. All the verbs that I share with you are regular verbs. And that means that we can go through this process with no problems, no alterations, and no modifications. Have the verb in infinitive, take the ending, keep the beginning, and add the right ending. But then we also have irregular verbs, regulars that we need to have a bit of a modification somewhere along the individual forms. Let's pick a relevant verb for this unit, and that's the verb hacer. Vale? So once again, let me take all this off. So we go here, we take the ER, and we go af for every single person. Af. This would be correct if it was a regular verb, but the verb hacer is an irregular verb, and it only has one irregularity, and it's in the first person of the singular, in the yo form. It's not yo hago. It's not yo hago. Sounds very odd. It's actually yo hago. Yo hago, and then the rest continues. Tú haces, él hace, nosotros hacemos. And the irregular verbs, not that we are going to be looking at them anytime soon, but it comes in different levels of irregularity. For now, we only have the verb hacer with only one irregularity in the first person. So to recap, in this video we have learned that we conjugated the ER ending verbs the same way as we do with the AR ending verbs. We just simply need to modify the ending a little bit. Also, we looked at all the verbs that can follow this process and that can take all these endings without having to modify anything else. All those verbs are called regular verbs. If we have to modify something or change the ending a little bit, those verbs are called irregular verbs. In this video, you will learn how to use the verbs and conjugations that we're studying in this unit. In English, like in Spanish, we have what is called tenses, and each tense refers to a particular moment in time. With all these sentences, I eat, I'm eating, and I'll eat, they're written and expressed in a different tense. We don't need to go into the names for now, but each tense refers to a particular moment. So I eat, we use when we want to refer to a routine, something you do normally. I'm eating is when we want to refer that we're doing the action now or in the future. I'm eating now, I'm eating tomorrow. And I'll eat when I'm hungry. We use it to refer to actions that will happen in the future. You're still probably thinking that Spanish grammar is very complicated. But what if I told you that in Spanish, to talk about routines, things that are happening now and things that happen in the future, we only use one tense. And that is the present tense. Let's do a few examples together so I can illustrate and show you how to use the present in Spanish in real examples. So if we go with I eat, yo como, we said that we can use it for rutinas, routines, things happening now, or to refer to the future. Okay, well, let's make a few sentences here. Yo como routine. Well, let's say los lunes. I eat on Monday. Yo como los lunes, yo como los martes, yo siempre como, yo nunca como. Ahora, yo como, well, I guess we need to use the same word. Yo como ahora. Estudiamos ahora. Tú escuchas ahora. Yo hablo ahora. Futuro, yo como. Well, let's go for the simple thing. Yo como mañana. Look at how convenient this is to help you express yourself. You're not just limited to talk about only yourself, because now you already know how to conjugate a verb, so you can talk about different people and how those people are doing those actions. And now you're not just limited to talk about things that are happening right now. You can also talk about things that you normally do and things that you plan to do. It's very important at this stage that you know what you know. What do I mean? There's no point in you trying to express an idea that's beyond what we have looked so far. So far, we have learned that we use the verb ser to talk about yourself, intro, to talk about your nationalities. And we're about to look at how to use the verb ser to talk about your profession. We have looked at how to use the verb estar to speak about your emotions. We just learned that we only use the presente to speak about things that are happening right now, your routines, or in the future. And you can use most of the Fab 5 to convey what you want right now. Quiero, necesito, me gusta. But there's one that's to express your wishes, no? Me gustaría. You trying to talk about or convey or to explain something outside this world, it's you making it very difficult for yourself. We haven't looked at how to speak in the past yet. We haven't looked at how to speak in the passive voice. So there's no need for you to waste time when you're in the middle of conversation. Just make sure that you always keep the conversations and bring them back to what we have already studied so far. Hey friend, do you want to know why you feel stuck and frustrated with your Spanish? If you do, I invite you to answer the 15 simple questions that you find on my online assessment, where you get a score in 3 different key areas: language skills, mindset, and integration. Then you receive a personalized report with detailed feedback on each area, helping you celebrate your strengths and pinpoint where you can improve. It's free and it only takes 1 minute. So to get started, check out the link on the description. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add the time when you're using the present tense to refer to your routines. So we have an example here. We have somebody doing something, and I just want to say when that person is doing something. Cuando como pizza. So we have here that we're doing the action at 3:30. So simply let's write down the time as we know already. First is the hour. It's on the right hand side, so it's E, and then it's past in the feminine. Media. And then we need to add the beginning, las tres. It's all feminine and it's plural. The only new word that we need to add to combine these two ideas is simply the word a. Yo como pizza a las 3:30. So far, we only looked at how to tell the time. This is the practical use of the time, so you can refer and be more specific about your routines and things that you do normally. Let's look at how I would ask the question if I wanted to find out at what time you eat your pizza. And I'm actually going to bring the answer back here. Remember when we were looking at the nationalities and the question was a bit back to front? De dónde eres? From where are you? And that word, de, was in the answer. Soy de blah, 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 blah. So we're doing exactly the same thing in here. So we have what time you eat pizza. What time? But we're missing this word here because it's on the answer. So that must go at the beginning of the question. ¿A qué hora comes pizza? ¿A qué hora? And then this is all coming together now. Check it out. We actually having comes is a verb in the second person. We got como, verb in the first person. The first and the second person are talking to each other. And then the a qué hora is really the practical use of the time. Once again, nobody asks for the time. This is more specific. A qué hora you open the shop? A qué hora you close the shop? A qué hora are we starting the lesson? A qué hora are we going to the cinema? In this video, I'll show you how to talk about what you do and to find out what everybody around you does for a living. To find out the profession of somebody, we have two questions in Español. We can either go for the what do you do route, ¿qué haces? Or if you want to be even more direct, what's your profession? ¿A qué te dedicas? I'm not going to close this question here because I want to add a bit more. In Spain, when we're socializing and meeting new people, we don't tend to ask for what people do very early on in the conversation. We cannot tend to leave it more towards when we've been chatting for a few minutes. So bear that in mind, because I know in other European countries, this is one of probably the third question that you ask somebody: name, nationality, profession. We don't do that here in Spain. Also, I would invite you to use ¿qué haces? ¿Qué haces? And then perhaps add the name of the city. ¿Qué haces? Let's say ¿qué haces en Madrid? That's a little bit more friendly because the answer could be anything. I'm visiting, I'm working, I'm studying, whatever, right? It's a bit more open. Now, if in your conversation you feel that you're ready to be a bit more direct and really find out about the profession of the person you're talking to, yeah, by all means go ¿a qué te dedicas? Straight to the point. What's your profession? Let's look at how to answer the questions related to professions. In English, you will go, what do you do? And the way we answer that question is not by using the same verb that in the question. We use a different verb, don't we? We use I am. So I'm a freelance. So notice that we're using two different verbs, to do in the question and to be in the answer. In Spanish, it's the same. So we have to do here, haces, ¿qué haces? So I need to answer with the verb ser. That's the verb that we use in Spanish for nationalities, for professions as well. Soy. And just like we have studied so far, soy Jaime, soy Español, and in my case with soy Coach, there's nothing in between the verb ser and the answer. So here notice that I'm not adding anything. Soy un freelance, soy un coach. No, soy plus the profession. Okay, now we know what we do for a profession. Let's find out where are they working. Let's translate word by word so we can see where the question comes from. We already know that where is donde. This do doesn't carry any meaning. It's just to express that we're in the present tense. So it's an auxiliary, so there's nothing that we can write here. You is tú. ¿Vale? And work, but conjugated in the second person es trabajas. But we don't have to write to because trabajas with this ending is exclusive to tú. So we can simply keep it ¿Dónde trabajas? When we answer this question, we need to go back to that formula that we've already looked. First and second person talk to each other, and third person, questions to the third person, we also answer with the third person. How does that work? Pues mira, I'm gonna ask a question in the first person. ¿Dónde trabajo? So I'm asking about the first person. So in the answer we will have to use the second person of the verb. Yo trabajo, tú trabajas. You work in Ibiza, tú trabajas. trabajas. Let's do the same but in plural. I'll ask you guys, where do you all work? ¿Dónde trabaja? For vosotros. Vosotros trabajáis. So in the answer, we cannot use trabajáis. We need to use the nosotros form. Vosotros, nosotros. In this case, it's trabajamos. Trabajamos. What about the third person? Where does he work? Yo trabajo, tú trabajas, él trabaja. ¿Dónde trabaja? And I guess we could add the name. ¿Dónde trabaja Carlos? ¿Dónde trabaja Juan? Pues Juan trabaja. And the same in plural. Let's say we're talking about them. ¿Dónde trabajan Carlos, María y José? Pues Carlos, María y José trabajan. First person talks to the second one, second person talks to the first one, third with third, third with third. So far we have only been using articles to refer to specific things. So the boy, the girl, the house, el niño, la casa, los niños, las amigas. We have only been using these specific articles. Now that we're talking about work, and maybe you just work in a office, maybe work in and restaurant, we need to use a different type of word, a different type of article. And these articles are un for masculine y una for feminine. And that means a. An. Let's make a specific example. Let's say that Juan works in the one and only restaurant in town. Restaurante is masculine, so I would have to go el restaurante. Let's say that Juan y María trabajan in the one and only office in town, so I will have to use la oficina. Trabajan en la oficina. But it's probably not the case. They just work in an office, in a restaurant. So we would have to use a different article here. So Juan trabaja en un restaurante, un restaurante. Juan y María trabajan en una oficina, Now, let's put it all together. Let's look at professions and places of work all together in an example. I am a waiter. I am a waiter. So that's a profession. I need to use the verb ser for profession. I'm talking about I in the first person. So the verb ser in the first person is yo soy. And then trabajo, so it's the verb to work, it's in the first person. We need to add the O at the end to refer to me. Yo trabajo, and I work in a restaurant. So es un restaurante. Yo soy camarero y trabajo en un restaurante. Juan y María, they're bosses. So we're talking about professions. We need to use the verb ser. Juan y María is the third person of the plural. Ellos, so son. We are not adding anything in between. It's not like I'm a waiter. No, I'm waiter. They're bosses. Nothing in between. Now, trabajan is the verb to work. Third person plural conjugation. en ending. Trabajan and the work in a office. Pues trabajan en una oficina. Juan y María son jefes y trabajan en una oficina. To recap, in this lesson, we have looked at two different ways of asking for somebody's profession. One that is very direct, when we really feel comfortable in the conversation that we can ask that question, ¿a qué te dedicas? Another one is a bit more friendly, a bit more open, ¿qué haces? We use the verb ser to talk about professions, and we only use the verb ser plus the profession. Soy coach, soy teacher, soy DJ. When we're asking about a profession or we're answering a question about a profession, we are also conjugating verbs, and we need to keep in mind the first person talks to the second person and vice versa. And when we're asking a question about the third person, we answer with the third person form as well. And also in this lesson, I've introduced to you to the indefinite article una, which you can use when you are not referring to specific places. Felicidades, congratulations! You've completed the first 4 units of my Spanish coaching program. You've learned the foundation of the Spanish language, going from the most basic concepts all the way to having simple conversations about everyday topics. Now you know what to say and how to say it. But I strongly believe that in order to become a good expat in Spain who speaks Spanish with confidence and feels at home in Spain, memorizing a few words and learning some grammar rules isn't enough to get you there. You need to have the balls to speak in public and build a community of locals to connect with. These video lessons are only a small part of my full program, which also includes Spanish fluency training, live coaching, immersion challenges, apps, a members group, and much more. So if you feel you need my support and guidance to help you boost your confidence to integrate in Spain, check out the links in the description and apply to work with me. Hablamos muy pronto.